Hey folks, it's Billy DKY, the truth seeker that simplifies and demystifies. This is going to be a video, what's the point of learning? Somebody asked a question if I could do a video on the pleasure of learning and how it's important, and so this is my video response to that question. If you have a question, you can, like I say, send me a message, tell me what question you want me to answer, and also tell me if you want me to mention your name or not, because I typically would like to mention the people's name or their name on YouTube, but I don't know if they want to mention, so just let me know if you want your name mentioned. Okay, here's the first point. What is the point of learning anyway? You know, you need to always ask the most fundamental questions, and that's what Einstein used to say all the time. He was so smart. He was what people called a genius because he asked the simplest questions. So always ask the simple questions to get at the heart of something, then get into the details. Okay. So here's the whole point of learning. And this came about talking to some teenager who, was real good at science and had all the details lined up, and he was pontificating to me about the proteins and this and that and this and this and this and this. And I started looking at it. I said, what's the whole point of learning anyway? And I realized there's only one point to learning. It is to achieve greater harmony with the essence of life. If you're doing it for any other reason than that, you're doing it for an egotistical boost or some other, mental jargon in your head. So, again, the whole point is to use that knowledge. And now I'm not saying that you can't learn something you're not immediately going to use, but you got to feel like I'm going to be using this sometime. You know what I'm saying? Well, obviously you're in school, you got to learn it because it's there in front of you. And what I would tell people is, when you're in school and stuff like that, it's not so important to learn what they're teaching you. It's more important to learn how to learn. Because I studied a lot of mathematics, and I tell you what, most of it's completely useless in the real world, and the real value that I took from it was the ability to learn how to learn. So that's the real value of school learning for the most part, and the knowledge is, it's a little bit useful. Okay, the whole point of learning is growing. More technically, it's about growing optimally. So now, in my life, if I don't need something, I put it away. I'm looking to learn stuff that I can use today or within the near future, or I can feel like I'm going to be using it sometime. That's the best knowledge you want. And, okay, next point. Boring people do not learn. Goofing off and the like are only good for so long. As a kid, I goofed off and did a bunch of things and silly stuff and fun. But really, if you can't, as an adult, you're not going to remain interesting if you stay stuck in that state of mind. Plus, you can't do it because typically that stuff is based upon gross pleasures and screwing with other people of some sort. So, and what I've noticed too is, as I've been on this path, I'll make friends with somebody, I'll continue to grow, and then I'll lose that friendship with them because they haven't continued to grow, and I just see them as boring now. You know what I mean? They're just like, they're boring. They haven't grown, they haven't evolved. They tell you the same stories. A year from now you hear the same stories. A year from now you still hear the same way of thinking. You're like, my gosh, are you not ever expanding your way of thinking? It's boring to be around people who do not grow their mind. People who do not overcome their spiritual problems they have of egos and pleasures and this kind of stuff and that. Okay. If you do not learn, you will become more and more irrelevant as you get older. When you're young, you can be relevant even in being completely stupid because you still have a full body, you have your full health, and people give you some respect. But as you get older, your body's going to fade. What's the first thing to go? Your body. Second thing to go is your mind. And the last thing to go is your spirit. So if while you're younger, you're overcoming your spiritual weaknesses or that ego and you're plucking it out. And I'm not saying push it down. I'm saying literally you're plucking it out through the ability of your thoughts and your reasoning, and you feel it release. I'm not saying you're thinking you're doing it. You know it's gone. Well, your spirit's going to be extremely clean as you get older. You're probably going to live longer. Your mind's going to last longer. Your body's going to last longer. And you're going to remain really relevant, and people are going to want to know what you got to say until the day you died. The Buddha, on the day he died, somebody was begging him to teach him something. That's how relevant that guy was, because he overcome so much of himself. You know what I'm saying? The day he was dying, somebody was begging to know something from him. It's amazing how important learning is. You can't underestimate it, really. Okay, more importantly, it's about learning for yourself, which provides you with the first-hand knowledge. You want first-hand knowledge. You want to look for yourself. You want to think for yourself. School, in some ways, is really bad for you because it just pumps a bunch of knowledge into your head. And that's not necessarily learning. You know, acquiring knowledge is like being a librarian. You're just putting books on the shelf. Oh, we got a whole set of new books today. Look at that. I am so smart now I got all these books. No. Learning is about acquiring knowledge and putting it into your mental map and then using it. And that's why I think, let me see, it's back here somewhere. Gaining knowledge is good. Applying it is the reward. And I said that. So, okay. Learning is like being a project manager, pulling all the resources together to accomplish something. If you can't pull your knowledge together to use it to accomplish something, it's just waste space in your head, isn't it? Or maybe you can give it to somebody else that can do something. Okay. The best kind of learning is the learning that frees your mind. We all got issues. You got issues, I got issues. There ain't no mistake of that. You can pretend otherwise, but it'd be a complete lie. There's nothing like overcoming an issue that you didn't think was ever gonna be overcome. All of a sudden, in a moment, you have a moment of brilliance, and you feel it release, and you're like, "Oh my God, I think I'm free from that." And it doesn't come back, or if it does come back, you know how to undo it again. You're like, "Huh, that's amazing!" And again, when you do that, you can learn more because guess what? Your mind's emptier. You can pull more stuff in. You're more aware. And I heard that what you learn from an experience is directly dependent upon how much you've learned previously. So when you meet somebody or you have an experience, the more you've learned, the more you're going to learn from that. And again, it goes back to the tree principle. The more a tree grows, the more it grows. You know what I mean? If you look at a young tree, it may grow 5 or 6 leaves. But a big tree, an old tree, 20-year-old tree, it grows thousands and thousands of leaves. You know, so the more you learn, the more easily it is to learn, and the more you learn for yourself. Now that's the real power, knowing why you know what you know. Question it. Why is 2 plus 2 4? Or why is, that's probably not a good one, but let's say, why is why is a negative 2 times a negative 2 4? You know, think about stuff like that. Really question it and figure it out. Why do you know it's that way? Okay. Let's see. Learning is one of the most wholesome joys of living. I mean, it can give, you know, I heard a song by John Mellon Cougar. He said, "When the joy of living ends." I'm like, that's BS. The joy of living don't ever end as long as you're learning and growing. Now, the joy of living ends when you're seeking pleasures and goofing off, and, you know, you're seeking silly pleasures in life. Yeah, the joy of living ends for you. I mean, be honest with you, the joy of living ends for me, I'm gone. I'll end it myself. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen, but nonetheless, it could. I don't see the joy of living ending. Okay. Like I said before, gain knowledge is good, applying it is the reward. And here's a quote by Edward E. Free: "Use knowledge is power." You know, BJ Penn has knowledge is power. No, knowledge isn't power until it's used. Okay. What is success rooted in? Success is rooted in learning. Evolve or get exploited. That's why a lot of people in this world have been exploited throughout the history of the world, because they weren't learning, they weren't growing. Then some people come along who were growing and learning, and they exploited them. If you don't grow and evolve, you will get exploited eventually. You know how in school they make fun of nerds and stuff like that, but then who's your boss? You know what I'm saying? We dominate other species because of learning. Obviously, we have bigger brains, but also we learn a lot of stuff. In short, if you aren't learning, you aren't living fully. It's just that simple. Anyway, I hope that answers your question, the person who wanted the video. And again, if you want to request a video, you can. Just tell me what you want to talk about. And again, tell me if you want me to say your name. And that's pretty much it. Till the next video. Later, folks.